Hey folks, MasakoX here. Christmas is getting ever closer, and this month's special marathon What If is heading into its second half. This story has been something of a much more deep and thoughtful retelling of the Dragon Ball tale, which is nowadays quite the classic. Chi-Chi, the much beleaguered and derided character whom we despised growing up when we were younger, has now had the chance here to do so much more for the story, discover something a little more surprising and compelling about herself, and it also calls upon sibling rivalry between a hermit and a powerful witch who can, temporarily, bring people back from the dead. Either way, that's not the main focus right now. The real focus is, what might happen if Chi-Chi were a Dragon Team fighter? At the front line. In the last part, we covered the antics of the 23rd tournament and the tension that ensued from the arrival of Piccolo Jr. He had initially been set to enact his revenge on his fallen father, but soon realized to himself it wasn't going to be that straightforward. Even though Krillin took the brunt of his ire, Chi-Chi was the one that was able to temper the demon's expectations and have him start to reflect a little bit, very little, on what his mission was in life. That is until Launch showed up and got her own revenge against the gal who put her behind bars a few years ago. Even though it wasn't enough to kill her, it certainly was something that showed that even though you have the power of magic and ki by your side, if you ain't expecting it, you can still get hurt. In the end, Piccolo and Chi-Chi managed to call time on this feud, but the former vowed to fight her again and do better. He wasn't going to be friends with her right now. He couldn't be, right there and then. But maybe he could learn to tolerate her and her friends. Maybe. Right, so we've got a little bit of time before Z. Let's cover that a little. Sure enough, Goku and Chi-Chi moved to Mount Paozu, like she had set herself upon a few parts ago, a lovely home, around where Grandpa Gohan's old place was, but much more suited to modern life. It was a lovely place, and Chi-Chi loved the peace and quiet of nature. For the most part, their lives here were much less hectic than before, but they still like to spar every now and again. You never know when something might come from somewhere else around the planet to try and spoil the fun. Also, Chi-Chi and Goku were aware that even though Piccolo hadn't become the menace that his father had been, that he wanted him to be, it wouldn't mean that that was just cause for them to slack off. However, when Chi-Chi fell pregnant, they did have to tone it down a little bit. Months later, when Chi-Chi was heavily pregnant, Piccolo came by whilst Goku was out fishing for the evening meal. He hadn't come to fight Piccolo, and Chi-Chi could sense it. She wasn't scared. Instead, he came to talk. He had sensed new life inside of Chi-Chi. She was about to become a mother. He had no real sense of family, and so sought some kind of idea about what it was like.
Tell me, are you ready to raise a child?
No, said Chi-Chi, clutching her stomach. I don't think anyone ever is. All I know is that I am ready to find out. All is well with Goku and I.
I see,
said Piccolo with a degree of intrigue.
I don't understand why I exist. All I can feel is that I was born from hate, anger, fear. That I don't sense within you and your son.
What? Son? We're having a boy? Piccolo then looked like this was the most obvious question in the world.
Yeah, isn't it obvious? I can sense it.
No, humans can't do that.
Oh, well, you're having a boy then.
Chi-Chi lit up. She was going to have a little man around the house.
I still wish to settle things with you one day, but for now, I can wait. I only hope that your child has a happier time of it than I did.
With that, he got up and flew away without so much as a bye or leave. Chi-Chi was left confused with this little interaction, but glad to hear that the trials of the past were beginning to erode from Piccolo's psyche. He actually had some level of self-control. Not long after that, Gohan was born, and all was good with the Son family. Things were more relaxed with Chi-Chi's more laid-back outlook on life and other things. Granted, she still wanted her kid Gohan to have a good education, but she was nowhere near as strict about it. Goku knew the score as well, and together they spent a good amount of time across a wide range of activities. Playing, learning, exploring nature, and just generally being a family unit. And yes, of course, Goku did want to train more with Chi-Chi once she had recovered from childbirth and gotten her strength back. And actually, Ox King tried to facilitate this by offering to babysit more, so he could spend more time with his grandson.
Oh, come on, Chi-Chi. Me being around you more? How could I say no?
Years later, Gohan had grown up into a smart but super intelligent kid still. He's happy, and he actively likes to read in his own time when not doing some light exercise with his dad. We then get the events of the Dead Zone. What? You're exploring a movie, Masako, in this timeline? Well, yeah. Sophie Haverock and I felt like it could be a really little nice interlude to further enhance Piccolo's place with the Son family. He is like a curious feral cat when being offered love and food by a family. Timid and cautious at first, but slowly starting to warm to them. But it's gradual and you gotta be careful. He's trying to understand what family ties are truly about. When it comes to the events of Garlic Jr., things play out the same, only that Chi-Chi wasn't present as she had been out gathering firewood from a nearby clutch of trees. Ox was the one to be overpowered, and by the time she could sense Gohan's energy had disappeared, oh, the kid was long gone. When Chi and Goku regrouped, they went off to find him. Granted, their power levels hadn't improved as much as they had done in the run-up to the 23rd tournament. I mean, obviously it was a bit of peacetime, but they had managed to get some gains around about 650, 700 or so. About a 20% gain in 5 years. I think that's fair. And despite Chi-Chi being there too with extra firepower, Garlic being immortal is still too much for them, and it takes the eruption of Gohan and his slightly different sort of rage boost to come into play. Wait, how is it different? Well, this is a little more concentrated, and thanks to the increase in power level from his parents when he was born, Gohan's boost is stronger, and now laced with innate magic. Yes, he didn't know how to use it, of course, because he's 4, and nor could he summon more, but this twist in energy was enough to throw Garlic Jr. for a loop, and thusly contain him back in the Dead Zone again. And throughout all of this, Piccolo had been much more on board with helping them, since he had found the Son family to be something that he had now wanted, but couldn't have. He didn't want to actively protect them anymore and be best buddies with them, but he certainly felt something toward them, and would help out when the need arose like this. Times of desperation. Garlic Jr. coming in and ruining the fun? What would be left for him when all was said and done? Well, he had to help. Afterward, Goku noted that Piccolo had gotten stronger too, and he was curious to fight him sometime.
Is that all your husband thinks about?
He asked Chi-Chi. She nods. Mostly. But he does have his good moments. She laughed. Piccolo didn't get it. So now, we get to Z. And when our boy lands, Raditz finds Earth to be rather pedestrian. And when he does find Piccolo and his power level is about 470 or so, he is very much interested and invested to find out more about this planet.
Yes, you are weak when compared to my might, but I must know, how could a backwater world like this possess a Namekian of this power? What? It doesn't matter. You will tell me why you're so relatively strong.
And so he did, with a quick spar, before Raditz's scouter detected 2 even higher powers, 680 and 710. That immediately deviated him from the Namekian, and he sped off to Kami House where Chi-Chi and Goku were visiting, with Gohan in tow, coming to the island for the first time. This time, with Goku and Chi-Chi more laid back and sociable, the crew knew of Gohan's existence already, and often came by to visit while they were in the area of Mount Paozu. But this was Gohan's first time coming to Kame House, and he found the experience very entertaining.
That is until Uncle Raditz shows up!
The exchange between Goku and Raditz plays out like before, the former finding out about his Saiyan roots, and this shocks them all, even Chi-Chi a little bit. However, she then recalls him turning into a great ape and having a tail back in the day. He had gotten rid of said tail whilst at Kami's when they trained there. It put him off for some reason. But this one had a tail as well. So, Goku was an alien. It didn't matter to her, she still loved him. But this brute was not going to drag him away from here. She would have something to say about that. Raditz, whilst noting their power levels, didn't seem all that concerned. He still whacked them about and wound up taking Gohan from them anyway. And before the group could figure out a plan to get Gohan back, Piccolo makes himself known and offers to help. Goku says that they don't need his help because they're stronger than the original. But the Namekian thinks otherwise.
Goku, the Dragon Balls can't bring you back if you get killed by that guy. You need all the help you can get.
Krillin gets up after wrecking Kami House and agrees with Piccolo. Despite him being weaker than said slug, he wants to help and protect Goku. With that, the 4 of them go after Raditz, the Saiyan locking Gohan in his Saiyan pod, knocking him out after his constant screaming. When it comes to the fight, it becomes painfully obvious to Raditz that, despite their lower individual power levels, these people worked as a unit, that when they fight together, this could cause them some problems. They might be able to hurt him considerably. The Saiyan tries his best to divide and conquer, but Piccolo is keen to get his own back after their previous encounter. Chi-Chi can sense Gohan in the pod, trying to get to it when she can, but Raditz would always attack Goku, which makes her abort and go back and help her husband, because remember, Goku dies, they can't bring him back, so that's a bit of a handicap. No matter how much he's trying to help, he is a bit of a hindrance here. After this cycle repeats a few times, Raditz is starting to get actually tired. If this keeps going, he might make a mistake, perhaps falling to these losers. He can't have that! Clearly, Kakarot wasn't going to play ball with him, so he decides to put on some bravado.
Not bad, thanks. But I must say, Kakarot, I am very disappointed in you. I hoped for better. And as for you...
He turns to Chi-Chi, and then promptly fires a sudden beam through her heart before fleeing in the ensuing chaos. Yep, Raditz just bailed, taking Gohan with him. Oh, he's a coward, remember? I know how much we like him here on this channel, but in reality, if we don't change him whatsoever, and he's up against something which is really up against him, he's going to turn tail and run. And before Goku has any chance to try and stop his brother, the pod shoots upwards and out of sight. Their son was gone, and Chi-Chi was dying. Raditz had played on Goku's wife, knowing that he would defend her if she were hurt, and made bank on that in his escape plan. He didn't care whether she died or not. He got away. Chi-Chi could feel her life force slipping away. She almost wished, in fact, that Launcher just simply shot her than experiencing this pain. However, things were less scary for her. Thanks to Goku's past experience, she knew there was an afterlife. It wasn't over yet, but she was still terrified of the deathbed. Goku, please, get our son back. Goku, crying buckets, vowed to do so. Piccolo too offered to help. His connection with Chi-Chi, like what was saw in the 23rd tournament, made it so that he would not let any underhanded miscreants get in the way. And with that, Chi-Chi dies, and her body promptly vanishes. Suddenly, Chi-Chi awoke, without pain. She found herself in a Japanese-style room with a huge mahogany desk in front of her. To her right was Kami.
Hello, Chi-Chi. Unfortunate that this time we meet is under such sad circumstances.
Kami? Where am I?
The other world. You are dead.
She looked up and spotted the halo above her head. She was mortified and was panicking about what will happen with Gohan. Will Goku and Piccolo be able to go after Raditz? They didn't have a spaceship.
All in good time, my friend. I have a plan. I just hope Yemma is willing to listen.
Kami goes about pitching to Yemma the idea that Chi-Chi go down Snake Way to train with King Kai. At first, Yemma was reluctant.
I don't know, Kami. I helped you out before with that Goku kid. Are you sure that this one here is better suited to the task? Certain, King Yemma. Things have changed since then. Chi-Chi here is much stronger, and more than capable of making it to the other side.
Chi-Chi was then briefed into the mission. She had to traverse a 1,000,000-mile stretch of road before then finding a way to a planet which rested atop the tip of said road. It was the biggest challenge she could do. She took the mission seriously and began her march. At first, she could use her magical force to leap from bend to bend, cutting out some miles. But after the first tens of thousands of miles, that became too tiring. The rest of the route had to be on foot. Great. Out in space, Raditz had to make a tough decision. Does he go straight back to Vegeta and Nappa with the Sprog and report? Would they even understand his intent? Probably not. Then, he had another idea. He found a planet nearby to rest up on, where he knew Saiyans were welcome and they wouldn't get in the way. Gohan woke up and immediately began to cry for his parents, not knowing where he was. Raditz told him that they were in no way able to help him now, so he may as well listen to his Uncle Raditz. Right now, Gohan was too weak and frantic to call upon his inner beast. He still didn't even know how to do it. Raditz chose that it might be best not to mention the fact that he'd as good as killed his mother. It would make things awkward at best, and they'd only just met.
Listen, kid, you're out in space, and you will not survive here without my teaching.
He chose to stow his scouter away while he was saying this. He didn't want his Saiyan colleagues to swoop in and undermine him just yet.
You are half Saiyan, half me. There are many races out there who would kill to even have a fraction of our potential. You can achieve great power, just like your parents.
Huh? Gohan sniffed.
I won't deny, your father and mother were more than I had bargained for. Not too shabby, but still, nothing compared to your Uncle Raditz. It's time that I taught you more about the ways of being a Saiyan.
And so, Raditz began to fill Gohan's impressionable little head with Saiyan ideology, whilst Goku and Piccolo, back on Earth, were busy at Capsule Corp, trying to find any means to get out into space and chase after Raditz. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you folks think? What mark will Raditz potentially leave on Gohan's mind? Can Goku and Piccolo even get out into space? Will Chi-Chi make it to King Kai's in time? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I will see you in the next video. Catch you later!